In October of 2008, in the middle of the worst financial crisis in 80 years, a 9-page document appeared on an obscure cryptography mailing list. No press release, no company, just a name, Satoshi Nakamoto. The paper was titled, plainly, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It didn't ask for funding, didn't promise riches, and barely got noticed outside a small circle of cryptographers who had been chasing this same idea for years. That document became Bitcoin, and 17 years later, we still do not know who wrote it. Bitcoin didn't come from nowhere, and it didn't come from nothing. For 2 decades before that white paper, a group known as the cypherpunks had been trying to solve the same problem, digital money that didn't need a bank. In 1998, a computer scientist named Wei Dai proposed something called B-money, an anonymous, distributed electronic cash system. That same year, Nick Szabo designed BitGold, a scarce digital token secured by computation. Neither one ever launched. A cryptographer named Adam Back had earlier built Hashcash, a system using computational proof to prevent email spam, the same proof-of-work concept Bitcoin would later use to secure its network. Even earlier, in the 1980s, a cryptographer named David Chaum built DigiCash, a genuinely working digital cash system that ultimately failed for a different reason entirely. It still required a central company to operate, and that company went bankrupt in 1998. Satoshi didn't invent these ideas from scratch. Satoshi combined them and solved the one problem none of them had cracked. How do you stop someone from spending the same digital coin twice without a central authority checking the books? The answer was the blockchain, a public ledger maintained not by one company, but by thousands of computers verifying each other's work. On January 3, 2009, Satoshi mined the first block, known as the Genesis block. Embedded in its code was a headline from that day's Times of London: Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Most researchers read that as a deliberate message, a timestamp proving the block wasn't mined earlier, and a quiet statement about exactly why the system needed to exist. That block also contained a small but permanent quirk. It awarded 50 Bitcoin that, unlike every block after it, could never actually be spent, a detail built into the code itself. 9 days later, Satoshi sent 10 Bitcoin to a cryptographer named Hal Finney, the first Bitcoin transaction in history. At the time, those coins were worth nothing, literally nothing. There was no exchange, no price, no market. That changed slowly. In May of 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 large pizzas, the first known real-world purchase using the currency. It is remembered today as Bitcoin Pizza Day, celebrated annually by the crypto community, and at today's prices, those 2 pizzas would be worth somewhere north of $600 million. Hanyecz has said publicly, more than once, that he doesn't regret it. Someone had to prove the coins could actually buy something in the real world, and at the time, 10,000 Bitcoin was worth about $41. Satoshi kept developing the software and posting on forums through most of 2010, then quietly handed the project to a developer named Gavin Andresen, and by April of 2011, stopped communicating entirely. No warning, no goodbye. Just silence that has now lasted well over a decade. Here is what makes this more than internet trivia. The wallet believed to belong to Satoshi holds approximately 1.1 million Bitcoin, worth roughly $85 billion at current prices, spread across roughly 22,000 separate wallet addresses, and none of it has ever moved, not once, in over 15 years. That single fact makes this the most consequential unsolved identity in modern finance. If Satoshi is alive and that wallet ever moves, it would be one of the largest transactions in financial history and could shake confidence in the asset overnight. And the hunt is very much alive right now. In April of 2026, an investigation attempted to identify Satoshi as a British cryptographer, based on writing style and historical involvement in early cryptographic research. That individual has repeatedly and firmly denied it. Around the same time, a documentary revived an older theory linking two other early cryptographers to the pseudonym. A cryptocurrency attorney has even filed a federal lawsuit seeking records on whether a U.S. government agency identified and quietly interviewed someone believed to be Satoshi back in 2019. This isn't the first name to be floated, either. Back in 2014, a journalist identified a man in California whose actual legal name happened to be Satoshi Nakamoto as the creator. He held a press conference, denied it completely, and said he had never heard of Bitcoin until his own son mentioned it. Years later, a different individual claimed publicly to be Satoshi and pursued legal cases to prove it in court. Courts were not convinced. Neither claim has ever produced the one thing that would actually settle this. None of these leads have produced what the community actually requires as proof, a cryptographic signature from Satoshi's original keys. Until that happens, every claim remains a theory, not a fact. So why, in an era of powerful forensic analysis, blockchain tracing tools, and billions of dollars in incentive for whoever solves it, has nobody definitively cracked this? One view says it is simply good operational security. Satoshi communicated only through encrypted channels, used careful language, avoided ever-revealing time zone-consistent posting habits, and vanished at exactly the moment public attention was growing fastest. Deliberate anonymity, executed well, is genuinely difficult to unwind, even with modern forensic linguistics and blockchain analysis tools that didn't exist in 2009. The other view says the mystery persists because it is useful. An unidentified creator means no single person can be pressured, regulated, or blamed if the system fails. Some researchers argue the anonymity isn't incidental to Bitcoin's success. It is structural to it. A known founder becomes a target, a single point of failure for an asset whose entire pitch is having none. Both views can be true at once. Good tradecraft and a useful mystery are not mutually exclusive. Bitcoin was built by combining a decade of failed experiments into one that finally worked, launched at the exact moment trust in traditional banking had collapsed, and then deliberately walked away from by its own creator before it became what it is today. Every piece of that story, the cypherpunks, the timing, the disappearance, was a deliberate choice, not an accident. Whether Satoshi is one person, several people, alive, or long gone, the system they built no longer needs them. That was always the point. A currency that works precisely because no single person controls it, including, as it turns out, the person who invented it. If you want more deep, data-driven breakdowns on business, economics, and the systems that shape how money actually moves, subscribe to this channel right now. Turn on notifications and share this with someone who has ever asked how Bitcoin was created. I will see you in the next breakdown.